With Skuid's new Ink component library and Design System Studio, you can embrace new design trends like never before, and you can do it without code. In this series of videos, I'll show examples of some modern web app styles that you may not have known you could utilize with Skuid's new features. Let's get started. In this video, let's take a look at how to create a linear gauge or progress indicator with Skuid's new slider component. These are all over the web and incredibly helpful to show KPIs like project completion percentages or quota attainment. To begin, we'll want to create a style variant in the Design System Studio that looks less like a slider and more like a gauge. To do this, there are 5 properties that I want to change. First, it's important that we get rid of this slider handle. The purpose of the handle is to allow the end user to change a corresponding field's value by dragging the handle to the left or right. However, since gauges are typically visualizing calculated values that can't or shouldn't be changed, we're going to get rid of that option. In the world of design, limiting functionality of a component can be just as valuable as adding it. Next, I'm going to get rid of these minimum and maximum labels. While these could be helpful in some contexts, the design I've come up with will simply show the percent completion as opposed to the minimum and maximum. So these would just clutter up my design. I'm going to get rid of them by assigning a 0-pixel style variant that I created called noType. Now, those 2 changes already have this component looking and functioning as a gauge. However, it's looking a little thin, so I'm going to increase the height of the track to 40 pixels. The last 2 things I'll do are simply cosmetic. I'm going to change the background of the non-selected state to a lighter blue to complement my darker blue selected state. And I'm also going to decrease the container height to compensate for the space left by the labels I removed earlier. And there you have it, a styled gauge component. Now, let's take a look at how to use this in the Skuid page. This is a great example of just how multifaceted Skuid components can be. The gauge we just created is actually just an alternate rendering option for number, currency, or percent field types in the form component. However, we can easily use this to serve our purpose. For this example, all I needed was a field on each record with a number value between 1 and 100 to represent a percentage. From there, I simply added a form component, changed the style variant to one using the new gauge component called gauge form, added a min and max value of 0 and 100 respectively, and lastly, changed the form to edit mode. That final step is important. The slider is technically for the purpose of adjusting number values, not displaying them, so it only appears when in edit mode. However, if you remember earlier, we got rid of the slider's adjustment handle in the Design System Studio. So even though the field will be in edit mode, the gauge will not be editable. And there you have it, a creative and code-free way of creating a gauge component using the flexibility and functionality of Skuid's new Ink components and Design System Studio.